Hello, everyone. Welcome to Expansion, the podcast that moves through rhythm, energy, and limitless possibility. From ecstatic dance to music as prayer, from healing practices to creativity and consciousness, this is a space to explore everything that expands us into the fullness of who we are. I'm your host, Jenergy. Together, we'll journey through stories, practices, and conversations that break us open, deepen our breath, and remind us of our oneness. So take a breath, open your heart, and let's expand together.
Thank you so much, Jenergy. That was beautiful.
Yay!
Oh, it's so good to be here.
So good to have you here. We have Alejandra here.
Thank you so much. I'm AbundantAli on Instagram and event planner, retreat host, and so many other amazing things. And I get to be here with you today. First time in action podcast, expansion podcast. So let's start from the beginning.
So she's actually going to interview me today. I'm the host, but then I will start interviewing everyone else. So to get a little background, I invited her to come and interview me, and she really catalyzed this podcast. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and she was like, all right, let's do it. I'm like, great. And she has a mic. So here we are.
And it's when things flow so easily and serendipitously that you just catch that wave, and it just seems to continue to happen that way. And just to give you a little bit of background with our friendship, it's been like this beautiful wave of connection and then kind of like the separation and coming together again.
It's literally been like this.
Yeah. And there's always been these beautiful, profound conversations and touch points where we can hold space for each other. I like so many times I've noticed we go deep into conversation and we love to just explore and be curious. And I think that's a part of expansion and what this means and how this mission is actually like the biggest catalyst of all for our evolution in friendship and our dynamic. So I'm really excited to be here. I'm excited to be part of this expansion flow.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I my God. All of our conversations that we've had over the years, and just like I still have you saved as like Wild Woman in my phone, which is like you're doing the Wild Woman Warriors.
Yeah.
And that just says a million things right there, like so much. It's always been this like deep resonance of that wild woman frequency and freedom and expansion and expression, which has led to this and the event that I do and all the things. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How has this journey and your resonance of going deep into your wild womanness, how has this turned over into expansion?
Yeah, well, I actually started with a wild woman, wild human experience during my spiritual awakening in 2012. And that was in Orlando on a mushroom journey, just very innocently wanting to be curious and try it. And I had this really profound spiritual awakening that really showed me the oneness of all life. And from there, I was really broken open and my whole consciousness shifted, my path and life and trajectory shifted. And I started going to more conscious transformational music festivals and eventually found ecstatic dance. And that really started expanding me in such deeper ways. I continued to go. I actually was really triggered the first time I went to ecstatic dance. I was like, whoa, I started judging myself, even though they were telling me not to judge myself. I was like, I started feeling this contraction in my solar plexus and my sacral. I started feeling this like level of shame and insecurity that was coming up as I was judging myself and comparing myself to all these other dancers that were so expressed. In Oakland was actually the first one that I went to. It's like a very powerful ecstatic dance over there in the Bay Area. And I started going consistently to the one in Los Angeles where I was based. And I continued to feel more expanded every time I continued to go into those discomfort, those uncomfortable zones, and feel like a little, I don't know what this is. I'm trying to move through it. And I would have this breakthrough. And every time I kept feeling like more expanded. So I was like, wow, I'm expanding. And that was kind of the word that kind of just kept coming to me. And then eventually upon moving back to Miami, I started my own event here, Expansion, which is ecstatic dance event.
Oh, amazing. And for those of you who have not gone to Expansion, it's give them the runaround of what this is.
Yeah, so ecstatic dance, I mean, it's all about freedom of expression. And that's why it's like expanding into the fullness of who we are. Just like, how can we just come and be ourselves without needing to rely on drugs or alcohol, which in Miami is a big thing when you go out. If you haven't been here, you'll quickly find out that, that it's like all bars and clubs, and most people are drinking or on some sort of substance, and it's not as much of a conscious environment that really brings people together. So I wanted to create something here that was more about authentic connection and just dropping into us without needing to rely on external substances, which it's great. It's definitely fun. Obviously, I had a spiritual awakening on mushrooms that really started this journey. But when we rely on it, that's where it becomes more of an addiction, a crutch, and leads to a lot of other issues that we see in society. So I wanted to create something that was a little bit different, and it's just a playground for us to play, to express, to be free, to connect, and release the programs that society has put on us of like, oh, you can't do that, that's for kids, or that's too weird, or tone it down, play small. And that just really limits us and really contracts us into these smaller vibrations that don't allow us to just be our full selves and our higher selves.
So during you going to these dances, you said you had these breakthroughs, and I'm curious to know, from a somatic level, from your nervous system, what do those breakthroughs feel like for people that don't exactly know how to communicate those breakthroughs in their bodies when they're going through movement?
That's a really great question. Well, first, to have a sort of breakthrough, we must know where we're at to begin with. So always tuning into ourselves, having some sort of self-awareness, self-connection practice to know, like, where are we when we first enter a space? So we just come in unconsciously and we don't even tune in to ourselves. We can't know how we are afterwards if we don't even tune into where we're at the beginning. So it's always just like being really self-aware is kind of like step one of like, okay, how's my body feeling? Do I feel contracted? Do I feel like my mind is stressed? Am I just going through the motions, or am I really slowing down, connecting with my breathing, and able to even tune in and feel? So that's kind of step one. And then
internalizing the resource, a safe resource for the body.
Yeah. And then from there, I would experience myself connecting, really dropping into the music. And I could feel like my level of like presence was like, how connected was I with the music? Did I feel like my mind was in a bunch of other places outside of where I was? Or was I just dropped in, connected with the music, the present moment, the people around me, my inner self? And then breakthrough would look like feeling like a release of tension in the body, a release of an emotion in the body. It could be like, oh, wow, I didn't know I was holding on to this, like, this sadness. And then maybe there's a memory that came up from years ago that I started kind of dancing through, or maybe there was an anger that I was holding on to, some sort of anger that I was holding on to from earlier in the day or the week or even the year or even 10 years ago that comes up that can actually be released and move through the dance. Dance is such a powerful way to move through these emotions, especially anger, when it's like, okay, where do I really put this? Obviously I don't want to, punch a wall and hurt myself, but we can like really move it through our bodies with the dance, and the energy in the dance and the music really catalyzes us to go through these different emotions and energy centers, because the music takes us on a journey. It's another big part of the ecstatic dance, where it's like really taking us from like a very slow, soft, still space up to like a high energy peak, and then back down. It might even go back up again and then back down. So it really creates these waves that take us through journeys within ourself, emotions, energy centers, different vibrations that really catalyze us to feel more than just sticking to one genre of music. So it goes through multiple genres of music. And then that breakthrough is like, oh, wow, I realized I really shook something out of me. And then afterwards, like tuning in again, oh, how do I feel? I feel lighter. I feel like just more like mobile and free in my body. I would catalyze like or characterize a breakthrough of like a new move that I would unlock. Like I'd feel like I'd release something, and then all of a sudden I'd be dancing in a new way, and I'd feel again more expanded, because I'm like, wow, there's like more of my dance that I didn't even know. Without even going to a class and learning something, it was like a releasing, and then that being the opening for that pathway, that neurological pathway that connects to my body to expand into a new movement.
Thank you for that. And why is it important to have that structure of wave within the expansion flow?
Yeah, it's really important so that we can start with that stillness, to go from a space of calming our nervous system, really dropping into our body and not just rushing into something really quickly, and then really working up to it and building up to that, so that we can go on that journey and surrender to that flow, as opposed to just what a lot of times you go into a club that the music's already really high, it's there, you got to match it or not, or you're just going to be in a different space. This, it really kind of meets us where we're at, we start in a circle, opening circle, so it drops into like stillness. We actually get to connect, share a few words, and then the music from that point. Some people might even start laying down and then coming back up, which is kind of like that cycle of life where we start, you know, in the womb, like laying down, come back, and then we rise and we grow into our adult life, and then we come back down through our death. And so it's kind of like mirroring that circle of life as well too.
Oh my gosh, yes. I remember the last time that I went to expansion. I told you this. I had felt this stuckness, this density that was happening on my left hip. And it was only 3/4 of the way in that I was like, oh, something's trying to actually tell me something. Something's trying to move through me. And so without judgment, I just like started gyrating the air and just moving through it. And I think in any other instance, if I'm not at an expansion flow or a container with that kind of integrity, I would feel very out of place. And there would be moments where I would feel judged. But there, I felt so safe to move through that. And 10 minutes into the final song, there's something cracked. Like I heard this loud pop, and immediately there was this just like this cathartic release of just like, yeah, this lightness. And I was like, there it is. Thank you so much. And tuning into that days after, I was able to integrate what it was that was coming up, because sometimes these kinds of releases don't really give you the core memory of what it actually is. It's just like this stuck energy that needs to move through. So that kind of space really allowed me to just like allow it to just be, flow with it, have grace with it, dance with it, like be really playful and joyful with it, which is so beautiful, because unlike other circles, sometimes you have to like go into the shadow, and then there's this seriousness about it. And it doesn't have to be serious when you move through these energies, these motions. It can be all very joyful and playful, and we can hold each other's hands moving through it all. So that's what I absolutely loved about it. And the days afterwards, I could feel that there was this like continuous alignment, even in the externality, because there was so much shift happening within.
Wow.
So it's just, it's so beautiful, the kind of like space that you hold and the kind of actual movement that you go through in the body.
Yeah. Wow.
So lots of invitation to anybody who also feels like they just may not even know what kind of way that they need to move through. And this movement is so natural because it's the movement of the body in whatever way the body wants to move.
Yeah, circles, spirals, like really unlocking that spiral energy. And that's kind of what you were doing, like gyrating and moving in those like more like circular motions, especially in the hips, which we store so many emotions in the hips. Like that's something that brought me to like one of the breakthroughs that I had early on in my ecstatic dance journey experience was I'd go in and I didn't realize how much shame I was holding around my sexuality and even moving in a sensual or sexual kind of like way. And I remember having this like breakthrough in my hips where I was like, wow, I can actually move them so much more now, where I thought I could only do a certain thing. And I'd kind of look at other people and be like, I don't know how they move like that. And I realized that it was this emotion of shame. And then once I moved through that, I kind of felt like this popping open of my body and my hips. And then from there, it really opened a lot and allowed me, and I could see how that affected my life off the dance floor when then I was like moving through life with way less shame for my entire being. I used to be someone that was very insecure in a lot of ways, couldn't speak on a camera, couldn't speak in front of a group, and now I'm here leading and speaking on cameras and leading groups. So it's like, wow, that energy of shame that was, there was affecting my whole being and my whole life. And it really transformed me once I moved through that in the ecstatic dance.
Yeah, let's speak about that a little bit more, like the subject of shame and how that can actually transmute with the power of holding this expansion flow. Like the topic of shame is so prevalent. I think especially in Miami, there's a lot of comparison. There's a lot of we should be doing this instead of that. So I think should and shame are two sides of the same coin. Yeah. How has this topic, this kind of emotion, run through your body and through your journey, and along with expansion? How has that moved?
Yeah. Everything? Well, I think, shame is one of those things that we hide, like, right? And fear, we'll kind of admit, like, oh, I feel afraid, and this. We don't usually feel like, oh, I'm really ashamed. That's one of those things that we feel, we internalize, and then it's just this, like, thing that's there that's not really talked about. And I think that bringing it up in community, in these events, in these experiences, it really helps us to drop into our vulnerability. And that's something that, especially in Miami, I find that people have a hard time doing, especially outside of what we call like these, ecstatic dance, consciousness events, yoga classes. I find that it's a little more difficult for people to access that vulnerability. There's a level of like, there's a level of fear around that being a sign of weakness, especially for men. There's levels of, for women to like just go into levels of comparison with each other and feeling like, oh, she's better than me. If I were to not admit that or something like that, or to admit that, then, oh, that person's better than me. And so when we think about that and we come into these ecstatic dance events and we drop those layers, we like, okay, I like to say like releasing our ego, dropping our ego at the door, leaving our ego at the door, and coming into this circle and like really being vulnerable and sharing what's coming up for us. If we can speak about that shame part, it really moves a lot, not only for us individually, but for the collective. And then that really impacts a society and really starts to shift things, because we're no longer in the, oh, I should be doing this or I shouldn't that, but like, wow, I can actually just drop all of that and be who I truly am, and be vulnerable when things come up. So I'm not trying to hide it and then just storing it in the body, creating more of that contraction, more of that tension, more blockage that just doesn't allow me to express my truth and be who I'm here to be, but actually move through that and find an actual new part of myself that maybe I didn't even know, because I was holding on to that shame, because I was like, my ego was so hard, was doing its best job trying to protect me from feeling that. But then, oh wow, there's something new inside of me, and actually can access a deeper level of creativity. Because when we think about what energy centers are, or what these emotions are blocked by, what emotion is blocking each energy center. Think of shame actually blocks the sacral center, and that's our center of creativity. So when we move through that, we actually get to be way more creative in our life. And some people might walk around thinking that they're not an artist or that they're not creative, but it may just be a block in their sacral chakra due to some level of shame that they may have had because they got made fun of when they were younger on something that they were doing in an artistic way. And that they internalize that and just, oh, I'm not an artist, I'm not creative, and there's that block. So when we move through that, we actually get to liberate humanity's creativity and sense of connection. And when we are connected with our creativity, we're connected with our spirit, we're connected with the divine, and that goes infinite layers deep as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I've seen this level of openness, especially with men. Like I go to these expansion flows, and then I notice that I feel like the edging of going closer to God and the edging God out. Like the ego is pushed to the side, and now they're like a little bit more flexible. Like I want to know the experience also for men, because I think there's a resistance there for men to actually like fully want to embody this kind of flow. Yeah. How has that experience been for you?
Yeah, we're definitely going to bring a lot of men on here and have them talk. Men that have not ever been to ecstatic dance, and then maybe talk about after, and then men that go regularly and kind of share their experience. So I'm really excited to bring on some more guests as well in the future. What I've seen is I've seen men be really resistant. Actually, there was a guy that I was talking to the other day. I told him about what I do for work and my event. He's like, oh, well, I'm a man. I mean, I don't bust a move. And I was like, where did that come from? Like, what? Well, I'm so sorry that you've been programmed to believe that because you're a man, you can't bust a move. Like, that really hurt my heart in a lot of ways. Like, I was just like, not like me personally, but just like, wow, like I feel so bad. Like he must not know, like there's so many deeper levels of himself if he believes that, he can't bust a move because that's going to somehow diminish his masculinity. Yeah. I was like, dude, that's one of the hottest things. Yeah. Is to see a man be so comfortable in his body that he's not holding on to this shame or this, oh, this isn't for me. And he can just connect and flow and be out of his head. Like, that's one of the most beautiful turn-ons that I could even imagine for a man. And for some, that this guy, thinks that he can't because he's a man. So that's one thing. And I was like, please, let me just give you a free ticket to the event. Just come experience. Just let me know how you feel afterwards. And you can see that there's tons of guys. Or lately, there's been so many guys coming and being just like, wow, I'm so glad that there is a space that I can just be, and I don't have to worry about these, social programs and norms that have been coming, and I can be vulnerable. Obviously, these men have done a little bit of some inner work to get to that point where they're ready for that. I did try to bring some people
to an ecstatic dance once that were very much not ready for it, and they really weren't even a yes. Like I almost like was like, no, come on, we're just going, and I just brought them, and it was really challenging. I mean, somebody has to be, you know, willing to go into that, but they just weren't even ready to move. They kind of sat on the side and judged themselves the whole time, and I think it actually made things a little bit worse for them, as opposed to them just being like a willing yes. So obviously somebody has to be willing to go into it, and that's where I got to learn a lot, because I'm the type of person that's like, I have so much Sagittarius. I'm like, come on, let's go, let's expand. Like literally Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Like it's all, you know, like I can be too much with it sometimes. So I realized like, okay, tuning it down and just creating that space and creating the invitations for people to come. But when they are ready, it's so profound to see and to just hear the feedback, because like I was saying, so we have an opening circle and then we also have a closing circle, and at the end, that closing circle is really a time for people to open up and share a little bit more than just a few words, but to really share about their experience and be vulnerable. And that's where we hear a lot of men just being like, wow, this is so profound and so impactful, and like I wish there was more spaces like this. I'm gonna bring my friends, like thank you. And of course women as well too, and it's just amazing to see the men really opening up in that way, and it's really beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's with families as well. You see children there. The other night I saw a baby with mommy just dancing.
It was so sweet. Her first ecstatic dance with
and
her baby.
This also goes into the points of you wanting to do this with kids. What's your mission there?
Yeah, so I mean, I love kids. I love working with kids. I've worked with kids like my whole life, especially when I was a lot younger and working at summer camps. And it's just so beautiful to like bring in that inner child energy. And also it's like mostly a big teacher for the adults to remember, oh wow, like that is who I am inside. I don't have to, just because I got older, I don't have to suppress that. I can still allow that beautiful inner child to be playful, creative, like expressive, and not, you know, suppress or start to believe that because I'm older, I have to, you know, diminish that. So it's really a teacher for us, and it's a space for the kids to stay in their childlike essence and see, oh, there's also adults that are modeling that as well. So I don't have to grow older and suppress that. I like to say that I love to support kids in maintaining their inner child and their playful essence, and adults in remembering that, because so many adults have forgotten, unfortunately. And that's what I believe makes us grow older faster, look older faster, and just essentially age quicker. So it's so much about health and wellness, just staying connected with our inner child when we stay in that playful essence. And again, that's a more of that creative sacral chakra energy that we're talking about here, that allows us to tap into our inner genius of an artist.
So for those out there who have a little bit of resistance to going into this space, what would you offer?
I would offer just a moment of just tuning in. It's like, why? Where's that resistance coming from? Like really get curious with yourself and just ask, like, where's that resistance coming from? And start to feel there might be, you know, these stories that come up. I close my eyes because that really helps me to tune in. So I would invite, you know, that person to really close your eyes and tune in and take out the external, all of these visual senses, and feel inwards. And where those stories, like, is it a story of I'm not a dancer, I don't know how to dance? Is it I don't want to be judged around other people? Or is it simply just, okay, it's not for me? That's totally valid. Go for that. But if it's one of these things where it's like, hey, there's something there, there's a story, there's a belief that I've made about myself, or I've made about dance in general. Is it I'm a man, I can't dance? Is it, you know, what are those? And start to see and ask yourself, is that from your higher self, or is that from the limited self? Is that from a perspective of like your true soul aligned essence, or is that coming from some sort of fear, some sort of shame, some sort of external societal program that you have been programmed to believe of that? And then from there, is it, okay, do I want to continue having that belief? If it's a yes, okay, great. Then continue having that. There's no harm, no judgment. Is it no, I actually want to move past that. I want to feel a deeper sense of freedom. I don't want to continue being that limited self. Okay, great. Come join us. If you start to come and you feel a little bit of contraction or shame or judgment or fear come up while you're in that dance, I invite you to move through that. I invite you to feel that. Don't let that stop you. Just move that. Like, let that be the dance. I've had so many times where I've gone into ecstatic dance and felt shame, and I just moved with that shame. And I felt so cringy. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so like I want to barf. Some places had mirrors, some places didn't. Some places had mirrors, and I would look at myself in the mirror and I'd feel that discomfort. And then I'd try to find some sort of level of love or connection with myself in the mirror. Not always necessary to do. That's what I did. And I started to feel like, oh, I can love myself through this. I started to move through that process. And once I went through it, even if there wasn't a mirror, and I just felt that cringy, uncomfortable, like, sensation. And I went through it and I didn't let that stop me. That's where I had the breakthrough on the other side. Yeah.
Wow. It's like where the real growth is met, where there lies resistance. And in that facing of the resistance, you go deeper into that with curiosity.
Yeah.
And you just move through it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Oh,
Jenner.
thank you.
This has been amazing. So share more about when this is happening, how often this is happening, and how can we connect with you?
Yeah, so currently this is Expansion Ecstatic Dance Miami. It happens every first and third Friday of the month. We're currently at a beautiful yoga studio in the Design District called Ahana Yoga. And we're going to be adding some different events. I do want to bring on like a Sunday event, so stay tuned. My website is ecstatic-flow.com, ECSTATIC-flow.com. All the info's on there. You can look up the dance events. We have some other cool events as well. And there's going to be more coming up. There's also ecstatic_flow108 on Instagram. And there's also expansion_ecstatic dance Miami on Instagram as well. And I'm Jenergy.
I'm AbundantAli. Nice to see you guys. And if you guys have any recommendations with where Jenergy can go with the expansion and any collaborators, any partners that would be really amazing to align with these kinds of synergies and missions, please feel free to share. Love you guys.
Love you. Thank you.